Welcome to QIS Financial Accountability. Topic 4, Planning. Planning has 3 standards. The first standard is a budget is prepared detailing costs and anticipated income for all operations. The second standard is budgets are based on real activity plans, which include the full cost of running a project and which include clear calculations and notes. The third standard is a cash flow forecast is prepared in a regular basis, monthly or quarterly. Budgeting has got a process. As you do budgeting, you need to think about these questions. The first question is, what are the objectives of the project? Usually we get the objectives from the concept or proposal already in place. The second question is, what activities will be involved in achieving these objectives? You'll also find the different activities or details in the concept already written. The third question is, what resources will be needed to perform these activities? For each activity, identify the resources required. For example, these could be transport, the other resource can be staff, the other resource can be stationery. Others term them cost centers. The fourth question is, what will these resources cost? It is important to attach a cost on each resource. Find out how much those resources cost. The sixth question is, where will the funds come from? It is important to ponder where the source of funding is coming from. An example can be savings, the other can be loans, or they can be donations. So it is important to put on paper some of those sources of funds. The last question to ask yourself is the result realistic? Is there value for money? This is about reviewing the different aspects you have put on paper. Maybe the activities are quite many, or you have overstated the costs on resources. Lastly, it is important to look at the good practice in budgeting. The first aspect to look at is timetable. Before you come up with a budget, think about the time you have to spend to accomplish that budget. The timetable should have a period, should have the activities, should have the responsible people to do the different aspects in budgeting, and lastly, your timetable should be approved. The second aspect as a good practice is research. Ensure you do proper research of the different activities you have put in your budget. Research on the costs that you have attached on the different resources. You can Google, you can find information of the different costs from the previous expenditure. You can find the different costs from the current or prevailing market prices. Then the third aspect is participatory. Ensure that budgeting is participatory. Involve different players, the beneficiaries, the departmental users. It is important to involve different people to handle different areas in budgeting. Clarity and accuracy is another good practice in budgeting. It is important to use notes to clarify some of the costs attached. It is important to use a computer, use of Excel for purposes of accuracy of the figures that you have put in your budget. in additions. The other aspect is use of a budget worksheet. A budget worksheet will help you to be detailed enough. It will spell out the activities, it will spell out the units required, it will spell out the frequency, the total amount, the notes, and the codes in referring to the different chart of accounts that you have. Lastly, estimating costs or justification of figures is important. We need source documents as we come up with different costs in our budgets. As I said before, make sure that you have source documents. For example, the previous invoices of the expenditures done, or you have Googled, or you have researched. Ensure such documentation is available before completing your budget. I want to thank you for listening to the overview of budgeting under the topic of planning in QIS.